What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamescast now, episode 92, topic 2. I'm Alex. This is our conversational gaming show, a show that airs every other week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, where I talk about random gaming topics. Now, I tend to like to talk about a lot of future games, a lot of games that aren't out yet, sometimes even games that the vast majority of the public doesn't even know exist. I really enjoy talking about those kind of games of the future. I haven't really done many topics recently of like actual gaming topics, and one day we may get back to that in some form or another. But in this video, I want to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game that, again, is not out yet. But I want to talk in a kind of discussion-like matter if this can save Star Wars games. I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent about this game and what this game could mean to Star Wars games in general. And I think it's something that's already kind of been talked about by a lot of gaming outlets, and I think it's that kind of hope that a lot of people have in the back of their heads of what this game can be. Now, let me start this off by just saying that this game, in the first place, doesn't even look all that amazing. Now, the very first trailer we ever got about this game, I was kind of disappointed. I thought it was going to be more, and it really didn't impress me at all. We even made a video that said, I think the title was that it was weak, that the first trailer was weak. Then we got E3, and they showed off a lot more gameplay, and I will say it looks much better. I will say that it looks kind of fun, and I feel like it can be a pretty solid game. I'm not sure how solid, I'm not sure how amazing, but here's the thing this game needs to do, or here's the way that this game can actually save Star Wars games, is as long as it sticks semi-close to what the fundamental goal of the game is. No matter how good or bad the game turns out to be, as long as it sticks to the core of what it's supposed to be, and as long as it sells well. Now, you could say that's pretty much the case with any game, but hear me out. When it comes to Star Wars games, we've gotten absolutely nothing since EA has taken over the license, and for whatever reason on the planet Earth, Disney will not take it back from them. Again, I think that's an absolute massive mistake. I think the world would be much better off, the gaming world would be much better, or even the world in general, would be much better off if anybody that wanted to make a Star Wars game made a Star Wars game. I'm sure you guys have seen the graphs around the internet of the amount of Star Wars games that came out, over the last 10 years before EA got it, and then 10 years after, and we've gotten 2 games since EA's taken it, Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, I guess Jedi Fallen Order would be the third one, but before, we got like at least one Star Wars game a year for a good solid decade. We got like 12 to 14 Star Wars games, and were they all amazing? No, they were not. There were some very bad ones in there. Were some amazing, and then they got bad? Yeah, Force Awakens. The first Force Awakens I thought was phenomenal. I actually liked the second one a little bit more than most people. I know a lot of people absolutely despise that game. I don't hate that game. I don't think it's a good game, but I don't hate it. So, there were ups and downs. We didn't get not every game that came out was a good Star Wars game, but we got so many different kinds. We got games where, again, we play as Star Killer. We got games where we play as like a Stormtrooper. We had shooters. We had Jedi games. We had all these different genres of Star Wars games. It was just more open. It was like, it was like a Wild West. Anybody could take a jab at making one of these games, and that's good. In the gaming world, that's definitely a good thing. Limiting one publisher, I guess, who has studios that does not do a very good job with them in EA, that's not a good idea. Because they just have not handled the license well. Even if they actually did it well, if they had, say, a game come out every single year, if they just opened up studios just to make Star Wars games, they should. I don't know why they haven't. That would be much, much better. But here's the thing. As of now, that license is not getting pulled. You'd think after all the stuff that happened with Battlefront 1 and 2, it would. Now, Battlefront 2, I think, is actually a really good game. I know some people may not agree with that. I think, upon its launch, obviously they made a ton of mistakes, and I completely understand that and recognize that. I'm talking about the product now. 2 years later, they have added so much. They've changed a lot of things. The game is wildly different now than it was back then. So now it's a much better game. But that doesn't excuse them for like the first year plus of that game. But as of now, we're not getting, the license taken away. So all we can hope for is that EA recognizes that they need more diversity in these Star Wars games. Now, you assume a Battlefront 3 is coming. It's coming probably in another 2-ish years. And so, we're stuck with that. Hopefully, they don't make any mistakes with that. Hopefully, it can actually be the Battlefront game that we all actually want. But on top of that, I think it's about freaking time that they start start to do some different Star Wars games, that they actually can, diversify themselves and make games that aren't just those first-person shooters. Now, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is not a perfect game. It doesn't look perfect. I don't think in any world that this game is going to come out and it's going to get 10 out of 10s. I don't see it. I think it's a game that has a lot of really cool ideas. I think it's a game that looks pretty nice graphically. It doesn't look amazing, but it doesn't look bad. So I'd say it looks good. And it's got a lot of just cool things about it, and I don't think it's going to be a perfect game. I don't think it's going to be an amazing game. I don't think it's going to be held to the same level. I mean, it looks like a Uncharted, Lara Croft kind of Tomb Raider thing, but with Star Wars. And I don't think it's going to reach those levels. I think it's going to be, I think, honestly, it's going to be like a 7 out of 10 game. A good game, and above, I mean, to some people's scale, a 7 isn't even good, but to mine it is. So it could be an average to above average game. Question is, and then this goes back to the very first thing I said, that's fine. That's actually fine. That's all we need it to be. It can be a 6 to 8 out of 10 game. That's completely fine. But it needs to stay true to the kind of game that it is. It needs to be that single-player story game where we're playing as this, Jedi. They're experimenting with all these Jedi powers. We get to do all these things that we can't do in any other game. And I do mean any other. I mean, they need to take some risks and do some different kind of stuff. It needs to be a decent enough story, with an actual story from start to finish, have the plot, have a good, beginning, middle, and end. It needs to have all that, and then more than anything, it needs to sell. Now, I know EA and pretty much any company, Ubisoft does it too, a lot of these publishers, a lot of these companies really put their expectations for how much these games sell, they put them too high. So, while I was going to say this game needs to sell and it needs to meet their expectations, I don't know, I think it's a little unfair because I don't know what their expectations of this game are, but also, it could be just so outrageously high that it may not hit it. I mean, you have games like Battlefield that sells 5, 6, 7, 8 million units and it's still below expectations because they wanted to sell like 10 or 12. So they set their expectations very, very high for these games, so I'm not sure where they want it, but if this game can sell like 6 to 8 million copies and it's a solid game that people say, well, it had some problems. We want it fixed. Maybe they can make a second one and fix these things, but we liked it and we supported it. I mean, that's the only way. I'm pretty sure I'm repeating some of the stuff I said a while ago. I talked about how Disney needs to take this license away from EA, and it pretty much boils down to is that they need anybody that wants to make a Star Wars game to make a Star Wars game and take it away from EA, or we need to bash it into EA's skulls that this is how you do it, that you can have a studio that makes Battlefront, that you can do that, that's fine. It comes out every 2 or 3 years. Go ahead. Have another studio that makes the single-player game. Make an open... Why did you shut down Amy Hennig's game? Why did you shut down the other game, the Vancouver game, that you originally shut down Amy Hennig's game to make? I mean, it just goes in a circle. They keep shutting down potential Star Wars games. They shut down 2 in a row, and again, they shut down Amy Hennig's because they didn't have enough resources to do both that and the Vancouver one, and then they shut down the Vancouver one. So, they need to get it all, they need to get their priorities straight. They need to open up these studios. They need to allow them time to make Star Wars games, and I think you need a Star Wars game out of EA every 1 to 2 years. The movies, if you guys know us, if you guys have been with us for a while, you'll know Tyler and I absolutely despise The Last Jedi. We really did not like it. We were on the, that side of the fence that are just anti it. But we're absolute massive Star Wars fans, and one thing that I have always kind of recognized is I don't care how bad the movies get, Star Wars is such an amazing franchise overall, and it's got just so much to it that there should be no problem making games for this franchise. You should always be able to make good games for it, and you should be able to make so many different kinds of games with different characters, with different themes, with different genres. This should be a no-brainer. This should be easy. You should be cranking out a Star Wars game every year from a different studio, making it just amazing, right? I don't think that's too much to ask for because it's a franchise that has so much potential, and honestly, you have these superhero games, the Batman Arkham games. I mean, they can do a property well. You have the Harry Potter Magic Awakened, the open world Harry Potter RPG that'll be coming out. That game, if that game is amazing, there's another one. You use the world of Harry Potter and you made it something special. Why can't Star Wars, which I think is, in some regards it's better, in some regards it's worse than those franchises, but it's so special because there's just so much there that I would put it above both of them easily. And the phenomena of what Star Wars is above them. So why that can't be in the same category, I don't know. But that's what needs to happen. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 100%, I believe, has potential to do some amazing things. It can be the way of getting Knights of the Old Republic back. It can be that way to get the MMO or the RPG. We can get RPGs of Star Wars. We can get more single-player Star Wars games. They're all possible. I think this is the first step of that because, honestly, it's the first time we've gotten it. This is the first opportunity we've gotten to support a game that's not Battlefront, that's not a shooter, that's not filled with microtransactions, that's not just a retread of what was popular 15 years ago that EA just said, okay, well, we know everybody wants Battlefront, so let's give it to them. That's fine, but we also want Star Wars games. I know it's hard to believe, but we want Star Wars games that aren't just Battlefront. So, like, can you give us those too? And they have yet to do that. This is literally the first time in, 6 years since they've gotten the license? 5, 6 years that they've gotten it? This is the first time we've gotten it. So, they need to deliver, and not even that. I don't think the game even needs to be that good. It doesn't even need to be that polished. It just needs to be decent enough where it's got a story and people understand that it can get better from here, and they buy it. That's honestly part of the reason why I'm buying it. I don't care if it's a 5 or 6 out of 10 game. I don't care if it's average. I want the potential of what these games can be to carry on. Days Gone, that's another one. I think Days Gone 2 can be a phenomenal game because I think they'll learn so much from the mistakes they made in the first Days Gone. But you need to give them the opportunity to make it. And, it could be like, well, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to help these guys out. I get it. But I feel like literally the Star Wars gaming world is at stake here, and this is our shot. And if we don't deliver, what's EA going to do? Oh, they only buy Battlefront, so we're only going to make Battlefront games. We'll continue doing that Destiny kind of clone for Star Wars that people will absolutely hate when they get their hands on it, and that's it. That's what's at stake here. We can either just get Battlefront shooters with microtransactions, or maybe we can work towards getting RPGs back, getting single-player stories back. Those are the two. That's where we're at. That's the split in the road, and so we need to all show up here for Jedi Fallen Order, no matter how average that game looks. So let me know in the comments below, guys. Do you agree? Do you think this is something that's very serious and that we do need to take seriously and actually, buy Jedi Fallen Order to support them to then try and get more games like that? Or do you think, we don't owe them anything, which is a very valid complaint, by the way. But let me know which side you stand on in the comments below. Make sure you guys also subscribe to our YouTube channel podcast. Now hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you, as always, for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you on the next topic of Gamescast now.